FPL Differential XI is a series where I pick a team of 11 lowly owned players who I predict to score the most points for the upcoming game week, to assist you in gaining rank over other fantasy managers. There's just 3 rules. The squad must be worth a maximum of 82.5 million. Each player must be owned by less than 10% of FPL managers, and I'm only allowed to pick up to 3 players from a single team. A silhouette of each player I've selected is already on the pitch, so feel free to play along by seeing how many of the 11 you can correctly guess. Starting off in goal, I've decided to go for Robert Sanchez for Chelsea's home fixture versus Luton. It's been a mixed start to the season for Chelsea, with an impressive performance at home to Liverpool, followed by an embarrassing 3-1 defeat to 10-man West Ham. With that being said, the Blues tend to be a fairly solid team at home, and there aren't too many keepers under 10% owned this week in FPL who I'd expect to keep a clean sheet. I personally think Sanchez is a good pick, so long as Chelsea don't sign another goalkeeper in the coming week. Based on their performances across the first 2 game weeks of the season, I expect Brentford to be able to keep a clean sheet at home to Crystal Palace. This spot is really between Rico Henry and Pinnock, and I've decided on the latter because I think he offers more goal threats out of the 2. Whilst Palace are a difficult team to break down at Selhurst Park, away from home they don't have a fantastic record, and for that reason I expect Brentford to be big favourites coming into this one. City have played 2 matches so far and kept 2 clean sheets, and despite all of their absentees against Newcastle, they looked very good at controlling the tempo of that game. Diaz missed out on the first match against Burnley due to a concussion, but I think while he's fit he's the most likely to start across City's back line. This week's fixture against Sheffield United looks so appetising from a defensive point of view that I'm happy to roll the dice and take a chance on Pep Roulette. I'm taking a bit of a risk with this pick because I'm recording this video prior to the Arsenal Palace match, but I think that Zinchenko could be a fantastic differential for this upcoming game week. Unfortunately, Jurrien Timber suffered a serious knee injury against Forest, which could keep him sidelined for the remainder of the season. However, that injury means that Arteta only has 1 player left who he trusts to play that inverted fullback role, and that's Zinchenko. If the Ukrainian were to get a start next weekend, there's a very real chance he could return against a struggling Fulham side. Without a doubt, the standout player for City in the match against Newcastle was Phil Foden, and if it wasn't for his creativity, the match probably would have ended in a 0-0 draw. In the absence of De Bruyne, Pep seems to have given Foden a much freer role, allowing him to cover those central attacking midfield positions, whilst feeding the ball through to Haaland as often as possible. Sheffield United put up a good fight versus Forest last week, but I just think this will be too big of a step up in quality for them, and I expect City will dominate and come away with a comfortable victory. FPL is all about being proactive and not reactive, and those of us with this mentality probably consider Enzo Fernandez as a decent option for Chelsea's upcoming home game against Luton. Although Enzo missed a penalty last week against West Ham and finished the game week on 0 points, it was reassuring to see him being a focal point in so much of Chelsea's attack. He took corners, free kicks, attempted numerous through balls, and of course took the penalty. I also wonder whether the integration of Caicedo into the starting 11 might actually allow Enzo to play a more advanced role on the pitch. With only 2 league matches played so far, we could already start to see far more attacking football from Postecoglou's Tottenham, and I think it's only a matter of time before Richarlison picks up an attacking return. Bournemouth have conceded 4 times in their opening 2 games, so the chances will definitely be there for Spurs. There's just the question of who those chances will fall to. With Kane having recently departed, and Tottenham not finding a replacement striker, I do think Richarlison will be trusted as the team's main goal-scoring outlet. With a high-scoring week for many of the 6.5 million midfielders in FPL, it was disappointing to see Moussa Diaby return just 3 points. However, in the match against Everton, Villa looked dangerous throughout, and Diaby had 2 shots that were well saved by Pickford, and he also provided key passes which led to goals. The expectation is that Company's Burnley will play attacking football on the front foot, so that should leave plenty of space in behind for the likes of Diaby and Watkins to be able to counter-attack. An injury late on in the game against Everton for Coutinho should also boost Diaby's expected minutes. For the third week in a row, Solly March makes it into the Differential 11 team, but I'm fairly certain it won't be long before his ownership rises above 10%. I think many of us expected Brighton to pick up off of where they left last season, which they definitely have done with back-to-back 4-1 victories. March has already returned 3 goals, and if there's one thing we've learned in the first 2 game weeks, it's that Matoma and March look to be the most nailed players to start across Brighton's attack. So they're probably the 2 we should be targeting. Who'd have thought that the forward leading the way at the end of Game Week 2 would be the 6 million budget enabler Yoane Wissa? I did mention Wissa a couple of times in my pre-season videos. I expected that he would take the place of the suspended Ivan Toney. However, I was unsure of whether or not Brentford would sign another forward during the summer. Wissa has already put in a couple of great performances against Tottenham and Fulham, with 2 goals and 1 assist, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him add to that tally at home to Palace this weekend. Completing the Differential 11 2 weeks in a row is Julian Alvarez. City put in what I thought was a very average performance against Newcastle at the weekend, which was hardly surprising considering they'd just come off the back of a Super Cup final a couple of days prior. Although the Magpies were limited to very few chances in that game, I don't think City offered a whole lot going forwards, which could become an issue for them over their great upcoming fixture run. I'm fairly confident all 3 of these players start, and Sheffield United are probably the number 1 team to target in the division. Just a quick reminder to let you know that your channel could feature here on the next Differential 11 video. If you want to win a channel shout out in the next video and a place on the leaderboard, correctly predict the FPL points total of today's Differential 11 team. Details will be down below in the pinned comment. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, enjoy the rest of your day and best of luck for the upcoming game week.